Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Philip. Today, I have an esteemed pleasure of interviewing the developer of Molochoir. I hope I didn't just butcher that.
Close enough.
A Metro,
Give you a
yeah. A Metroidvania survival horror game with a very interesting and unique art style that is currently available on Kickstarter at the time of this video's filming. We started to get to know each other on Twitter, and I thought, hey, why not have an interview on my channel so more people can know about this amazing game that is currently available on Kickstarter right now. And if you're a collector, there is a physical Nintendo Switch reward tire to sink your teeth into that we'll talk more about in this video. So without further ado, please introduce yourself, sir. Tell us a bit about yourself, how you became a game developer, and most importantly, about your amazing game.
First off, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. It's like the pleasure's mine, honestly, because it's such a small game and such a small project. So the fact that you want to take the time to interview me and the fact that you've been so supportive really does mean the world, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. And yeah, it's essentially I've always loved survival horror games, and I always loved Metroidvania games. So I thought, why not do both? And it's literally as simple as that. To be honest with you, there's not really much more to it. I basically started about 5 years ago developing games, but it's been more like just learning to program and learning pixel art. And then once I sort of built up the skills I needed in order to do this project, I thought, okay, now I'm at a good point to actually start developing my dream game. And then it sort of started from there. And then a few years back, I started the early prototypes of it, and here we are today. And that's pretty much how I got there, to be honest.
What games really inspired you to want to make this game? Because in the description of the Kickstarter, it says it's a Metroidvania and a horror, and
Yeah.
I don't think too many of those combinations out there, which is really cool.
Yeah, but we were talking about earlier a little bit before the interview started. There's like examples of games that are like they take horror elements, but they're not really like full on. They're not really leaning too heavy into the horror sort of type of the horror genre. So I wanted to do more of that. I wanted it to be a more like slow paced. Like you're very vulnerable in the game. You can die very easily at any point from any enemies. That's where the survival horror comes into it. Like you have to be very careful where you're moving, and stealth's a very big factor, and using the environment and clever ways to dispatch your enemies through the blood magic system and through specific items in certain areas. And I wanted it to be a more like slow-paced, story-driven, strategic game, lean a bit more into that rather than just sort of generic, like here's an open world, the story's kind of a backseat, but in this one, the story kind of takes a front seat. Like I really want to. It's like you're a fan of the Souls games, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Like all like the lore elements of that, like how it sort of told you through the environment and through enemy design and placement.
Yeah, that's I love the way FromSoft goes about it, because I believe Game Awards is happening this year. It's up for tons of awards, which
Yeah.
isn't surprising. I don't really got Game Awards shows, but I've seen some people say online that why is it being nominated for a story it doesn't have no story, and
Yeah,
what people fail to understand is it does, but it's not told directly to you. Maybe a little bit,
yeah.
but you have to go and seek it out. And I think that's very interesting, because you're exploring this big world. If it's just told to you instead of you finding it out, I mean, it kind of takes away from the whole point of the game, which is to explore and find out what the heck is going on.
I think what's really cool about their style of game, like through that, is like they show you a design or they show you something really cool, and it makes you want to actively go and seek the story out. So it's like instead of them telling you like what the story is, you're like, I want to know myself. I want to go and actively try and piece this together because it's so interesting, and it makes you a lot more like invested in the stories themselves. And that's kind of what I want to try and go for. Like I want to have these really cool designs, and I want to have these weird environments, and I want the player themselves to try and seek out the story and like gather these clues and like put it together like a mystery kind of thing, rather than just someone sitting there like telling you exposition. Like I want you to actually say, oh, that looks really cool, I want to know more about that, I want to dive into that, I want to see why that's there, like how it's there, like how it ties into the overall world, you know? like how it builds on the lore. And I think that's like something that's been a really big design principle of mine, like moving through this game and writing out the story. Because there is dialogue, it's going to be very like archaic and very hard to follow, like purposefully. Like characters are going to lie to you, characters are going to be misleading, and they're going to have their own take on things, and it might not necessarily be right because it's from their point of view. And that's going to be really interesting on building on them, because you'll say, well, if that's how they take away this situation, maybe it's not how the situation actually is, you know? But they're all going to have very unique perspectives on the world itself. It's up to you to like build the relationships, decide who to trust, and interpret the story in your own way. And that's a very big design principle of mine from the get-go, because I love how FromSoft do it with their games.
Yeah, that's a great way to go about it. I also like, I mean, they really didn't do it in the other Souls games, sort of, but I like with Elden Ring, you really have the option to choose how you go about finding things out. Like you can go directly the beginning, the little glowy light that tells you go here, or you could just totally go off in a different direction and go find your own story. You don't have to follow one set path, and that's what works so well with Metroidvanias and with Elden Ring. And I hope more games do that, because sometimes I don't want to just follow the story. Maybe I want to go off and do something else, or I see something in the distance and I'm like, ooh, that, yeah, it's like, ooh, that's so cool. But some games just gate that off. It's like, oh, I know you like that cool shiny thing over here, but you're not going to get to go to that for another 50 hours because you have to go this way. And that's kind of annoying sometimes. But that's why it's so great to have a variety of different games. If you want just a very linear story that you can play in small bits, that's great. If you want to have a big expansive thing where you go do whatever you want, those are great too. So I think that's really cool. I'm looking forward to that when it comes to this game. I watched some of your developer interviews, and you went over the stats and the skills, and I really like what you're doing with some of them. It seems like you're really going to get to make a lot of unique builds, which will add to replayability. Can you touch a bit on that?
Yeah, so like character building and replayability is a very big, important part of the game to me. Like I love being able to go back into it and play it a completely different way. I think that adds a lot to it, and it makes you more invested in the character if you build it yourself. You know, like it's more like your personal character, like how you decide to play. So the biggest thing for me, like the number one thing I had as priority with this was you don't like how in a lot of games you have certain skills that are kind of like pointless, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like Dark Souls 2. What was it? Was it poison? What was that was broken? I don't remember which one it was, but it was really pointless. Huh?
I think it was luck or resistance or something. I can't really remember.
Yeah, it was something that was supposed to help with your evade rolling. Like if you had more of it, you had a bigger iframes or something, but it was really stupid. Yeah, there was like some stat for it. I don't remember which one it was because it was so useless. I just forgot about it.
Yeah. I barely played Dark Souls 2, to be honest. Like, I think I played it through like once, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know about revisiting this one. Like, it's good in its own right, but it's pretty weak compared to the others. I want to be like unique. I don't really want one that's a throwaway, you know. Like, I want everyone to be valid and valuable to the player. Like, if they want to choose it, and I want to have some very like risk reward weird ones in there. Like, there's a certain skill that's like I think the most interesting one to me, where like as you increase it, it makes every enemy in the environment stronger and do more damage and have more health, but then it improves certain attributes of the player as well as like a trade-off. And what's really unique with that one is like the spells are going to have, like I haven't designed the system yet because I've got a bunch, I've got quite a lot to do before that. But each spell is going to have its own skill tree, like similar to the Borderlands skill trees. I don't know if you're familiar with Borderlands and how they work.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar. I love Borderlands.
But you know, like how you can level up the skill tree and you can choose 2 of the top like skills with the update and stuff when you reach level 72, I think. With this, I kind of wanted it to be like, if you don't invest into this specific skill, you can reach one of them. If you invest heavily into this skill, you can see it in the like in the video if you check it out. It explains it all better than I would do here because it goes on for a bit. Um, but basically, like, in order to reach that second cap of the highest skill, you need to have, I think I've said, like 40 points into this specific skill. So you can only reach it if enemies get stronger through upgrading it. So you're putting yourself at detriment to be able to reach higher potential, kind of, and that's the whole point of it. I think it's called survivability. That's what I named that one. But that one was really interesting to me. It's like a good breakdown in that video. It explains it a lot better than I do here. But yeah, like all the skills are going to be, they're obviously going to be balancing and testing when I get the game out there, the demo. People can play around with it and I'll balance it accordingly. But I've got it set up right now to where I think it's pretty balanced. But until people break the game, you never know, really, do you? Someone's going to come up with some crazy shit, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I've seen some of the combinations, and I usually don't go for the ones that really punish you, but man, some of the benefits to going with that is really neat, like being a glass cannon. I
Oh,
love that. That is so cool. In the how you have these really devastating spells and abilities, but they give you some kind of weakness, like the giant Kamehameha wave laser blast out of your head, but it makes you blind.
yeah.
Like, yeah, you came up with some really interesting, crazy stuff. What about let's talk about the art style, because I really like what you're going with. It's kind of like a black and white 1950s kind of art style, but then it's kind of like that pixely kind of anime look to it. I don't know how to express it. What made you go with that kind of art style? Because it looks like the character looks so cutesy, but then everything looks gloom and doom around her, like she's in a Silent Hill world or something.
Yeah, it's like a weird contrast. The main character itself is like the whole like the design of like the Hemoseraphim race, which is the main character you play as. They can control blood and use blood magic. Their designs are kind of based on I wanted to make them kind of cute and a little bit creepy, so they're like really pale skin. They're kind of based on like the old Russian dolls, like, you know, not like the ones that stack into themselves, but like the really pale big eyes.
Those porcelain dolls freak me out. Those like glass soulless eyes. No, thank you.
Yeah, that's why they don't have them cheap. Oh, it's an interesting thing. A lot of people are like quite, the art's quite divisive. Like a lot of people say the game would look a lot better with like a couple of tones and be in color. And I think that that's completely valid. Everyone's like allowed their own opinion, their own view, because obviously art's subjective. I completely understand that. Any criticism's fine. But the main reason I wanted to do it monochromatic is because, like, in the actual game, the character is colorblind, which is like the primary reason, to be honest. Like, their whole race can't see
Oh,
color. There's a lore reason for that, which will be explored in the story. It's quite an important thing to the game. And I want to say now to anyone that is a little bit unsure because of the color, like, there will be color in some areas of the game. I haven't showed it off yet, but the more like alien environments are going to be very colorful, and the whole idea of that is it's going to contrast the more like the rest of the game. So when you reach that point, it's just going to be like a blast of color, and it's going to seem more alien because of it. And that's kind of the design prospect I was going with for that.
that
Yeah, I
that's
can
really
understand
cool.
why a lot of people wouldn't like the color, but I also have a lot of people that do like getting into it. I think it's quite a unique. Like, I've never seen a pure black and white pixel art game in this level of like detail and stuff before, with like this shading, and this I just thought was kind of a unique aesthetic that stands out a little bit. So yeah, it's quite hit on this, but I'm glad you like it at least. That's reassuring.
Yeah, I didn't know the reason you went with that was because the character was colorblind. That makes it even more interesting to me than before. I just thought it was an artistic point, and which it is, but then there's a
Yeah.
reason for it, and that's what I love about games when they do something because there's a reason, there's an explanation for it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that is cool. I applaud that. That was that.
Thank you.
You put a lot of thought into this, like a
Oh yeah,
lot
I've
of
literally
thought.
got hundreds and hundreds of pages written out. Like, it's kind of disturbing. You can look into this for hours and hours. Like, every tiny thing has been designed with like a thought in mind. It's not just randomly done. Like, I sort of like wrote out a story before doing the game. Technically, like the environments, the world, and the overall story has been written out before creating any of this. Like, it was all based off that essentially, which is kind of
How
because it's so
how
it's so
long
important to me having a deep, interesting story to the game.
how long did it take you to come up with a concept, write all this, think of the characters, the race, the overall story, the world, all that? Like, did you work on that for like a long period of time before you ever started the development? And if so, how long
Yeah,
did you?
I think I worked on it for around about a year and a half, to be honest. Not like consistently, like just sort of in my spare time, like whenever I had a free moment, I kind of like just went back to it and like built off of it and say like, oh, how would this tie into this? Like this would be cool if this happened. Like there's so many twists and turns that are going to happen. There's so much that hasn't been. There's a lot of it's kind of upsetting because I want to just tell everything and because it's just so cool in my head. I just really want to get it out there. But I don't want to spoil it for anyone, so I'm trying to keep quiet on it. But it's really hard because I'm so excited about it myself, just wanting to shout it out to everyone. You know, it's just hard to restrain myself. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's a really important aspect of the story and the world. I want it to be one that like I don't want it to be a game you just put down and then you're done with it. I want it to be one that like really sticks in your head, that makes you think, like makes you want to explore it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are the games that you always come back to. And
Yeah.
looking at this game, I don't know if you ever played it, but it's one of my favorite Metroidvania. So it's like, it almost feels like it was like the first one or close to the first one they decided to do. But have you ever played Salt and Sanctuary? That
Oh
game,
yeah.
oh man,
That is amazing.
it's phenomenal. Yeah, and it was made by a team of two, husband and wife. I can't believe what they were able
Really?
to do with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's really impressive. It's just such a good game. I
Um,
love Soul and Sanctuary. Did you ever play the
yeah,
sequel?
yeah. It's a really great game. Yes, there is a sequel. Me and my friend have been playing it. It's called Salt and Sacrifice. This
Yeah.
one, it seems like they went with Souls like Metroidvania, but they added in Monster Hunter type grinding to it, so you can fight these bosses and then you can go back into the environment and fight them again and get their loot and then their materials and then make loot from it. So it has like Monster Hunter grinding into it, but it's still Souls like in Metroidvania, which has a little bit of like Zelda in it, where you need tools to kind of progress in the environment, so you have to go get those and then come back and visit that place later, which is cool too. It's really neat. Like, it's a great genre, and looking at your game, it's almost like I can feel a little bit to it, because Salt and Sanctuary had a really unique art style too, and atmosphere, and your game has this same kind of vibe, where it has this unique art style and atmosphere. And I gravitate towards that a lot when I see something like that, because there is a lot of games out there that literally just look like a copy of another game. And that does get a little tiresome, but when a game comes out and it's like, oh, that looks interesting. Let's shift over to the Kickstarter. So it's already reached its funding goal, and it's reached, how many stretch goals have you achieved so far?
We're on the third right now, which is crazy
Yeah,
to me. Like, thank you everyone. That's mad. I never thought. I mean, to be honest, like just getting to the first one was mind blowing. So I can't even fathom. As I've said, I don't think it's actually hit me yet that we're on the third one, and it's cool because the stretch goals, like I'm really excited to develop what they promise, and the whole player customizing their room thing is like something I really wanted to do. So the fact that we're able to reach that goal is just like, I can't wait to get working on that because it's going to be so fun.
I know we were talking in Twitter DMs about how the hub world, you can literally spend forever in there, and then you posted on Twitter yesterday like kind of a map layout of what you were gonna do with it, and I was like, man, this hub world's gonna be large, and there's gonna be tons of stuff to do in it, and I love that. I love when I have a nice big chunky hub world to explore, because it's supposed to be your safe haven from the
Yeah,
horrors and the outside world. Sometimes
it's
you
like
just
going
want to
home.
warp back and take a deep breath, listen to the hub world music, and like eat a snack and a drink before you hop back into
Yeah,
dying a million
exactly.
times.
Maybe literally
And
even like hit the nail on the head. That's exactly like the vibe I'm going for. That I want it to feel like a retrieve from all the madness. Like you can come back and you can talk to everyone. You can play some games. And now because of the stretch goals, you can do even more. Like you can customize your own room, which is going to be really exciting. I can't wait to work on that. You can like buy furniture, make the room look exactly how you want. It's completely up to you, which is really cool. There's going to be like a farming sub game in the greenhouse, and you can grow all these weird crops, and like some of them will come alive and attack you. Some can be used as like medicinal plants and bombs, and it expands a lot because of the stretch goals, and that's because of everyone that's had faith in my work and has been kind enough to pledge to it. So honestly, it's all because of you that it's that big, which is like crazy. So thank you.
That is amazing. It sounds like your Metroidvania, Souls-like, Animal Crossing,
Animal Crossing, yeah, it's
Moon, Story of Seasons, all rolled into one, and I'm like, this is so bad. I'm gonna have so much fun with this.
Nothing in this game is going to be scarier than Tom Nook trying to collect taxes. Don't worry, won't go that far with it.
We just talked about it privately on Twitter about the physical tires and what you were wanting to do for each reward. So tell me what made you want to do a physical copy? And you said there's only so many. How many is there possibly?
I mean, total there's just under. It's like a weird number because of how it works out with like the couple of tiers right at the top, like the few ones that include like having a statue in the game and stuff. So there's a just short of 3,000, I think. To be honest, like off the top of my head, I'm so tired right now. If you look at the tier thing, you can see, but yeah, there's under 3,000 definitely. It's very limited, and the reason it's a big priority to me is because I'm a massive collector for the Switch myself, and I just knew this is something I had to do. Like it's so important to me to have a physical out there for like longevity of the game and to make sure it can actually, because when stuff goes digital, like the chances of it being lost eventually do happen. So it's like, what's that really big one that got lost and then limited run games brought it back? Was it Scott
Pilgrim? Yeah, Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, that's like one of the big stories. Like before they did that, it was just kind of lost to the annals of history, and I really didn't want that. I want people to be able to physically have this and like display it on the shelf. And no one is more excited out there than me to display it on the shelf, to be honest, because absolutely I'm crazy into collecting physical games. So I've got I'm really, really into it.
How many physical games do you think you own for your Switch?
I think I have about just under 100, but I go for more like the weird ones. Like I love strange. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is because I wanted a game that's a bit different and one that like breaks the mold a little bit in a few different ways. So I collect like the weird games. Like I have Fight Crab from PlayAsia. That's a really obscure one. That's a lot of fun. You can still get it right now, actually. It's still live if you're interested in a really, really unusual game with like crazy cover art for your collection. I have a couple. I'm like a nerd for special editions. Like I love wasting money on overpriced crap. So I've got a bunch of that.
I don't really know how much I have for Switch right now. I'm very slow about logging. I use an app called Game Eye. I'm sure a lot of people will probably know about that when they hear that and mention it. It lets me log my games. I logged all my PlayStation stuff in there, my older stuff. So for PS4, I think I have about 390 physical games, close to 400. Switch, I'm probably gonna say, just going off the top of my head, about 100, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I don't really know. I gotta log that next, but I love physical games too. I'm trying to cut down on the collector's editions because some of them are just crazy. It's like $400 and it has a bunch of paper and a really crummy statue and no physical game in it. I don't understand that now. I don't like that.
That's ridiculous.
But I love physical games. So this getting a physical is pretty awesome. Was the process of trying to go about doing the physical difficult with Nintendo? How does that all work? I mean, who do you even contact to get that going?
Well, to be honest, it's not actually too bad because other than I used to work in a print factory for years, I've still got contacts there. So like all the physical stuff other than the cartridge, I know they can do it, and I still have people there I can speak to and they can handle it for me. So that's relatively easily done, sorry. As for the cartridge, a lot of that's going to be done through publishers, and I've actually been contacted by PlayStack, which are the people behind Mortal Shell. I don't know if you heard of that. It's like a Souls-like
Ooh,
game. It's sold like
ooh.
500,000 copies, I think. It's quite a big one. And I've been contacted by, I can't remember the name, something Red Deer Games, I think. I'm not really too familiar with what they've done, but I've got a couple of
Is it Red
publishers that have
Deer
reached
or
out.
is it Red Art? Is it Red Art? Red Art?
I honestly can't tell you. I'm sorry. I've got the
Okay.
email
I don't know.
somewhere, but
I was just
it's
when you
I've
said
got a lot of
red, I
emails
thought
through.
Red Art Games. I
It
it's
might
okay. It's
be,
okay.
it might be Red Art, but honestly, I'm just like so tired from working on it. Like I'm trying to do as much as I can, and keeping up with everything's kind of a nightmare. Like I've got so many emails through. I just want to say real quick as well, if you don't mind. I've got a lot of emails through from musicians and artists that are it's been like crazy seeing how many people want to help with the project and want to work on the project, and that's great. And I'd absolutely love to take people on and grow a little bit and help people, and they can help me with the, it just works. But as of right now, at least until the Kickstarter's ended, maybe until the end of the year, because I've got some stuff I need to figure out with it first. It's going to be a solo project, but once I'm able to be at a point where I can start accepting help, maybe for the music or for the art or for the programming, just to help speed things along a bit, I'll do a public announcement and then take in people and see if we can figure it out. Like I've got a lot of voice actors, a lot of the amount of musicians that have contacted me has been crazy. That's been really awesome. Like Anthony Ford is one. He's helped me with the trailer music, and he's done the music on the Kickstarter. You can see all the sound was from him. He's really, really talented, really clever. And he just reached me out of the blue. He like created a music for the trailer without me even asking, and then showed me, and I was just so blown away by it. I was like, all right, I need you to do this for the game because this is crazy. Like this is mad. And you can see the trailer music so good, and that's because of him. And honestly, all the props in the world go to him for that. So he helped me a lot. I really appreciate him doing that for me.
I'll definitely show the trailer in this video. I'll put it in there so people can watch it. Yeah, the music in the trailer is awesome. But that's really cool how many people want to reach out. It's like, oh, I don't even care about getting no pay. I just want to work on a cool game. I just want to be a part of it. And I've had that too. I commend you on making your own game from literally like nothing, because I could not even do that. I'm afraid that when I turn on a laptop or a computer, it's gonna break. Like I am not tech savvy. That's why I play on consoles, because PC and the technical problems of trying to optimize and make your game play good is just way over my head. I just want to pop a disc in and play, but I've always wanted games. I have had so many ideas for games. I cannot do the coding thing. I don't know how to do it. But when it comes to writing, coming up with ideas, some art skills, my art's kind of rusty. And then voice acting, I'm good with that because I do a lot of fan dubs. I'm in a lot of fan projects for some Dragon Ball voices. I can mimic a lot of characters. Like if you're a big Dragon Ball fan, I can do like dozens of the characters. I can do Disney characters. Um, lots of different voices. So I like doing really weird voices, maniacal, crazy, scary characters. Those are fun. Those are the ones you can always have fun with. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice when people want to reach out and just be a part of something, just to be a part of it. And I think that's when that passion is really strong. And if you're
seeing people share that passion is crazy to me after working so long alone on it. Like just having so many people suddenly come out of nowhere being like, hey, I really like this. I really want to be a part of it. It just means the world, honestly. And I really want to offer as many people a position to like be a part of it as possible. But for and just that, like if you send me an email, I'll try and respond to it right now. But until I'm like physically at that point where I can take people in, once I've sorted some things out, because like right now with like keeping on top of all the social medias and doing the game and the art and the programming and it's like the Kickstarter, this is quite a lot. So I'm just trying to focus on that first, like before, because I've also never worked with people on a game before, so that's another obstacle. Like it's quite hard to communicate um, with people, like sending in their work and then having to like change a few things and like going back and forth. It takes a lot of time, and I need to know people have the ability to like I'm not the best programmer in the world. Like, don't take me wrong, but like, just like know what they're doing, you know?
You gotta crawl before you can walk, so you gotta pace yourself, because if you try to do a million things at once, you're gonna burn yourself out. And it could be time consuming, but it can also be worthwhile, especially when you have passionate people that want to help out or spread the word, which is
Yeah,
why I wanted to do this interview, because I saw this game. I believe my friend Alie, she shared it with. She's big on Metroidvania. She's put out several YouTube videos talking about really ambitious ones that come up on Kickstarter. And I believe this is one of the ones she talked about. And I was like, I got to talk to this person. And when you reached out to me, I was like, hell, he's really nice. He's really
oh,
kind.
thanks.
I'm gonna
I felt the exact same way about
do an
you as well.
interview because thank you. I appreciate it.
'Cause I didn't know you found me through her. So, thank you, Alie.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. She's great, and I'll throw her link to her channel down below so other people can see some of the other Metroidvanias that are currently either on Kickstarter or coming out or going to get a physical, because it's one of my favorite genres among Souls-like and horror games. So
Just don't
yeah.
leave the ones that look better than mine. Just leave those out of it. Any projects look better, just be like, maybe not included.
Now, I did want to go over some of the rewards. We talked about a physical copy. There's also a
Yeah,
collector's edition too, and that includes both a physical and digital copy of the game, a physical and digital
yeah.
copy of the soundtrack, correct? And then an art book. Or is there something else too? I forget. I'm not looking
Um,
at the rewards right now, so I don't remember at the top of my head.
yeah. There's also just like a certificate of authenticity, like a numbered one. I'll hand sign all of them just so it's like authenticated.
Ooh,
And there's also like from the collector's edition, you'll get your name in the actual game within the back of graveyard on like a large tombstone. And with
yeah.
that, you'll be able to like write out whatever you want. It can be like a whole story, it could be a message, or have your name be like personalized to you, like forever immortalized in the game, which is kind of cool.
I don't want to say what they are because I don't want anybody to steal them. But in DMs privately, I gave him some funny ideas for ones, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Those are really good. Those are really, really good." And I was like, "Oh man, I want to put like 3 or 4 of these."
They might make it in the game on other gravestones, maybe. But if anything funny gets put in the game, just know it's probably from Jokester, not from me. So
Yeah, yeah.
keep an eye out for that.
I definitely have one that I think people would like. Is pretty cheeky. Couple of ones. I thought about one that would make fun of myself too. So it's like, uh, um, but I did want to talk about the art book because I know I asked you about it, and there's a lot of times with the Kickstarters you don't really have direct communication with the person that's having the Kickstarter, and they have all these rewards, and there's always details you want to know about it, but you can't ever find out about it. But then they're like asking so much money, and it's kind of a little frustrating because you just don't
Yeah,
know. So reached out to you, and you straight up told me that the art book was going to be a physical hardback art book.
yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Sorry
Um,
for not including that in the Kickstarter. It's like
yeah,
because I'm doing all of it, I'm not like the best marketer. I'm not really sure how to market things. I may have accidentally left that out. I should have been more specific. But yeah, the art book is a hardback. It's going to be the highest quality I can possibly produce because as a collector myself, it's really important to me to have everything be really like well put together. I want to actually make it feel like worth, like feel its value when you hold it in your hands. I want you to think like this is worth it.
yeah, uh, yeah. That's really cool. How many pages do you hope to have in there? I don't want to like make you make you um set in stone. Like just kind of a rough idea. Like how many pages would you want in an art book? When does it start to feel less like a manual, more like a nice premium art book to you?
The art book's going to have a minimum of 150 pages, and I say a minimum because it's going to be over that, but I'm not really sure how much. as I've been creating the art, I've been keeping earlier forms of the art that haven't been seen yet, like concept art and like step-by-step progression, like through the frames, and that's all going to be in the art book. So you can see some environments and some enemies and how they've changed over time from the initial design to the later designs. And there'll be descriptions on each enemy and each item and the environment. They won't give away the story entirely, because I still want that to be more up to your interpretation. It will go more on like the design philosophy and like where I got inspirations from, and how it progressed from its initial form to the final form that you see in the game, which is going to be really interesting, I think, to anyone that's into all of that, the design progression of the game.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And hopefully a developer interview in there and just read a little bit about yourself. And I mean, I think that's awesome. 150 pages is nice. There's so many collector's editions, retail AAA collector's edition. I don't want to throw any hate or shade at anyone, but there are some, and they'll come out, they're like art book, and it's like a tiny little thing, and it's got like 30 pages in it, and I'm like, or it says it's an art book, but it's just like a glorified manual pamphlet, and I'm like,
my God.
I
Can
like
I tell you one
nice.
that was like really disappointing?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to say first, I love the game. Like, I think it's a great game, and I think like I'm still really happy with it. And it was really cheap. Like I think it was like £25 when I bought it. But I know when they released, I think Death Gambit Afterlife, that came with an art book. But it was literally like 8 pages or something. And it sucks because I really like the game, and I was like, damn, I was really hoping to like find out more. And like, I think it's still worth the money. Like £25 is crazy for like a game like that. But
Yeah.
I just remember holding it, thinking, oh man, I wish there was more to this, you know?
Yeah. I actually was an early adopter on Death Gambit when it first dropped on PSN a couple of years ago, before it had all the patches and updates, and it was like really broken because they totally changed and revamped the game with the Afterlife version. It was actually on sale for Black Friday the other day for like $20, and I wanted to get it, and then it sold out. I was like, dang it, and I have to get it somewhere else.
You have to be so fast.
But it's a really cool game. There's a lot of those games, like even Salt and Sanctuary. I would love to have an art book for that. And the physical soundtrack with OST is so nice, but I understand with smaller games like that, it's hard to do physical items when it's not a big AAA thing, and it's a little disappointing, but it's also kind of nice that now there's a lot of limited publishers that will reach out to these ambitious indie games and try to make some kind of physical edition or physical goodies for it. So that's kind of nice, but it's really cool that you are dedicated to and passionate about giving this a proper physical copy and physical collector's edition with items that you're putting in digital version to people that don't want to open their physical copy of the game. They don't have to, which is also nice, because some people are just like that. I
was just saying, I'm not like that personally, but I know a lot of people are, so I wanted to have that for them. So I know a lot of people, like, I don't really get it myself, but I know some people like to keep the game sealed, so I just wanted them to have that choice, you know?
Yeah, it's always good to have options. Now, one thing I want to ask you about the physical Switch card, because it's so silly how with PS4, Xbox, Switch games, you open them up and they have those tabs clearly for a manual, but there's never anything in it. So is your game going to have a manual?
Yeah, it's going to be like, I think for the manual, I'm not 100% what I'm going to do for that yet, because there's like a lot to do before that, obviously. But I think I'm going to have it to be like, half of it will be like basic controls, and then the other half will be like a few smaller pages from the art book, like a shrunk down mini version, just with like 10 pages maybe after the controls, just a little something. But yeah, I hate empty cases as well. When you open it and there's nothing there, it just feels weird. Like feels like I'm sure you are as well. Do you remember back in the day when you buy these massive fat art books and the case would weigh a ton?
Now, if you're lucky, it's a DL sheet, a paper, or it's an advertisement for another game that you don't want. Another thing that really bugs me is like, you'll open your game case and then it's like just white. There's no inlay art, there's no reversible cover, or there's like a big logo of like warnings and copyright stuff on there, and I'm like, that's not entertaining to me at all. Can you please stop doing that?
No, I'm 100% gonna have reversible cover because I'd love that as well. And it's such an easy thing to do,
Yeah.
like so simple. It's literally just print it double-sided.
If you do the inlay art, one request that I would have to say I would love is the menu art that you have. It has like all these plants or whatever around it, and then the main character. It looks beautiful. I've
Oh, 100%.
seen it in one of your videos. That would make for perfect inlay art. You open it
That's a
up
good
and it's
idea.
literally like that. It's just, yeah,
Like
it's
full black and
beautiful,
white.
beautiful art. I love that. If that happens with the inlay art people, it was me. It was me suggesting it. So remember that.
If you don't copyright strike me or try and claim it, maybe I'll
No,
do
no, no,
it.
no, no. I would never. I would never. I would never. I would never.
I'd put a really tiny watermark of your channel and your icon in there, so
Tiny
can't
little
be
thing
sued
was like,
that way.
would do that. That would just be. No, I would request like just autograph my copy of the game. That's all I need. That's my reward. You can autograph it for me. I'll be good. It's getting about the hour mark, so how about we move on to any closing remarks? What do you want to say to everybody that watched this video before we wrap it up?
I just want to say you must be very bored if you got this far in it, and I'm sorry for taking up this much of your time. And for everyone that backed the project, and for you as well for doing this interview and supporting me so much, and for sharing everything. Like, it means the world, honestly, every single person. I just want to thank from the bottom of my heart. It really does mean everything. Like, with your support, bringing the project to life like this, reaching these stretch goals to see it grow, to reach heights is not, I don't think, possible. It's all because of everyone, and it's because of you for helping. So honestly, I owe you guys the world, and I can't wait to bring you more. And thank you for your support.
Well, I graciously appreciate your time and taking this interview. I really look forward to the game, and I'm happy to share what I can to help get this game out there and more people know about it, because it really is a beautiful, amazing game, and I can't wait for it. And I know a lot of people out there are definitely ready to play it as soon as it gets done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for having this interview with me, and everybody watching, thank you for sticking with us. There will be links in the description below so that you can go to the Kickstarter, support it, back it, get one of those physical copies because they're running out, they're going fast. And also follow him on social media. I'll put all that down below so that you can. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and see you all in the next video.
Thank you so much.